Welcome back to Speak Candidly. Here's Brandy and Adam.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Speak Candidly. I'm Brandy. This is Adam, and this is where we get to speak candidly about everything and anything we want.
All right, so today we're talking about ghost stories and paranormal everything, right?
Yes.
And to start off here, just lay a little context. You are the believer
Yes.
in our relationship.
Yes.
And I am the skeptic.
100%.
I like to call myself the Scully to your Mulder.
Yes.
But I absolutely love that dynamic because you are just so passionately, interested in this stuff, and you're a believer in this stuff. And I am just like, I have never experienced anything in this realm, and I want to, but I've never experienced anything. So I'm like the Debbie Downer of this.
I don't consider you a Debbie Downer. No, because and as we get into stories about this and we get into, my thought process versus your thought process, I totally get it. I mean, we're going to get into, why you're a skeptic. We're going to get into why I'm a believer. There's two different paths here, and it makes total sense. But I'm hoping that maybe one day we can make you a believer just like me, or at least let you question it, right? Get you on a level where you question it even more, right?
God damn it, I hope so.
Yeah.
With everything that we do a lot of these trips and everything, and I want to see something. I want to come face to face with a ghost or a poltergeist or something. And I've always been disappointed up to this point. So maybe one day.
So to give a little backstories, to help everybody, to help our audience understand, when we do go on vacations, especially as a family, I do have a habit of continuously booking some sort of ghost tour.
Always.
In the hopes that maybe we experience something, or at the very least get a very good story or a couple of stories out of it. And they're very entertaining. We've always enjoyed them. Like even you as a skeptic, no matter where we have gone, you enjoyed the stories because they're folklore, they're lore, right? And especially when you have a really good storyteller, when you have a guide who's just like passionate about it, and you could see that coming. It just makes the world of a difference, right?
I think my favorite was when we went to New Orleans. I found that ghost tour just absolutely fascinating. And there was, a vampire?
Yes.
There was Marie Laveau, who was a
voodoo priestess.
The stories on that one, I mean, New Orleans is an awesome city to begin with.
Absolutely.
And then you add in the paranormal stuff to it. I was, despite not being a believer, I absolutely took it all in, and I absolutely loved it all. What was your favorite trip that we've done, ghost tour?
Oh, ghost tours? Definitely the Keys. Yes. Pirates, Ghost, the one bar that we went to that literally every corner of it had a story to it. Like there were people buried there. There's a hanging tree in the middle of it. There's it just was amazing. Like
they literally have a skull behind the bar.
A whole full skeleton.
That's right. It was a full skeleton. I have a picture of it. Full skeleton behind the bar.
Yes.
It's 100% real.
Yes.
And they dress it up and they put hats on it and shit during holidays.
Yeah.
And then, they had a hanging tree in there that they used to hang
pirates,
and
especially.
pirates.
Yeah.
Oh, that was incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Just that. First of all, the Keys are just in and of itself like a whole experience. It is just amazing down there. We both fell in love right away.
Yes.
But the ghost stories were phenomenal as well. Like the ghost stories about the pirates, the witch, that unfortunately murdered her children because of her unfaithful pirate husband. And she's buried in the bar.
She's buried in the bar, yes. That bar's pretty awesome.
It is so odd. It is the most dingiest, darkest, foulest, awesome bar that you could ever find on the planet.
Which is why I fell in love with it the second we walked into it.
I do remember before we went into the bar, our tour guide had talked about how there's no air conditioning in there.
Right.
But women will feel like air conditioning on them. And while we were standing at the bar waiting for our drinks, I felt the cold air, like air conditioning on me. And I was just like, okay. I would have loved to have spent more time in there, just to see, just to feel.
I would love to spend more time in there just to drink.
Right, that too.
It's a cool bar.
Just a cool bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where does your belief stem from?
I wouldn't say that I grew up in an extreme religious household, but my mom is very faithful.
Okay.
And she's always been involved in the church. It's something that she just has, even from a young age for herself, always just connected to. So it was a big part of, especially my childhood. So I think that that's where you start to get that understanding of like an afterlife or a soul or a spirit, or because of those teachings. So then as through my life, I've had weird experiences that I can't explain. And I think that is where the difference is. And I try to explain this subtle difference to people. And I know that until you experience it, you don't get it. A lot of times when you aren't experiencing a ghost, you're like, oh my God, was that a ghost? When you do experience something that is paranormal, you are doing everything that you possibly can in your mind to explain this to yourself. Like, even, am I going crazy? Because you cannot wrap your mind around what is happening, because logically it makes no sense.
It's a disconnect from
reality.
Yeah,
absolutely. So one of the first memories that I have, I had some family members that they rented a house, an old farmhouse, and it was converted into 2 separate apartments. One was upstairs, one was downstairs. The upstairs apartment had its own entrance. My one aunt, one of my mom's younger sisters, lived upstairs with her daughter, and then her youngest brother and his family lived downstairs. I didn't know any of the stories. They never told us growing up like how haunted this place really was. And it wasn't until we got older and it was like, hey, we had this weird shit happen to us, and they're like, oh yeah, because it's haunted. It's like, oh, thanks for telling us.
Heads up would have been nice, huh?
Yeah, really. Like that, it would have just helped, because especially as a kid, like it just was weird.
But I think not telling you, because I think if they did and they put that in your mind, you could almost say that you're making an impression on somebody.
Oh, absolutely.
And so the fact that they didn't, tell you anything about it,
right,
tells me you were just a blank canvas.
Yes.
To, experience these things.
So the first memory that I do have, I was spending the night upstairs in my Aunt Sandy's house, part of the house. It was just her and I. My cousin was not home at the time. We were in her living room watching TV. She fell asleep on the couch. And I just had this very strange, to me, scary feeling of being watched. But it wasn't just being watched. I knew it was an older man in the doorway. I could not physically see him, but I knew what he looked like in my head, and I could feel his presence.
But how?
That I can't explain to you. It is like a movie sometimes in my head, and I don't know how to explain it other than that. It is an image that pops into my head, very much like a movie, because it is usually them in doing something or in their own element. It isn't just like me seeing them standing there. And it's just a feeling. And I don't know how to describe that either, other than it's just a feeling. So I was like staring at my aunt because like, I don't know what's going on and I don't know what this is. And this is probably one of the first times that I'm ever experiencing something like this. And I'm terrified right now. And I'm just thinking to myself, please wake up, please wake up. But I don't want to wake her up, because if I wake her up, she's going to ask me why I woke her up. And I don't know how to explain this to her.
How old are you here?
Probably about 8, maybe 9.
About 8, okay.
So she actually does. She wakes up abruptly, and she's like, oh, why don't I put you in your cousin's room? Now, my cousin was, at the time, it was like a covered porch area that they had converted into a bedroom. Her one cat would always sleep in there with her. So as my aunt was putting me in there, she said, oh, I'll take the cat out and close the door. This way she doesn't bother you through the night. She went, and I remember laying there, trying to fall asleep. I think eventually I did fall asleep listening to the cows because I could hear them, in the backyard. And at some point through the night, I felt the cat clawing at my feet. And so I wake up and I'm annoyed and I'm thinking, oh, she forgot to take the cat. So I'm like kicking violently. not hitting a cat at all, thinking, okay, it must have just jumped out of the way beforehand. I'm not actually looking at the end of the bed because I'm still kind of like groggy, but just kicking violently.
Right.
Don't think too much about it. Fall back to sleep. Happens again. So I'm getting more and more annoyed, and now I'm kicking even more, like violently, still nothing. At some point, though, there was a very awful smell in the room, and there was a very awful feeling of, all I can explain to you is like pure evil. And I was terrified, and I knew it was not a cat. And this thing grabbed and is scratching my legs, and I'm kicking and kicking and kicking, and I'm not actually feeling like a cat or anything like there as I'm kicking.
Right.
And all I keep saying to myself is, just don't look. Just go back to sleep. This is something that I just go back to sleep. Just go back to sleep. So in the morning, I get up, eating breakfast with my aunt, and I'm like, Aunt Sandy, you didn't take the cat out of the room last night. She kept scratching at my legs, and my aunt's like, no, honey, I did. She slept in my room all night long, and I had that door closed. And the conversation, like, at some point, I think she realized, and I realized very quickly, like, there was a lot more to this.
Because she had experienced this beforehand.
And not knowing it then, but there was a moment where she kind of realized something happened. I realized this was a lot more than I had understood.
Right.
And we just didn't talk about it. And I just was like, I'm never sleeping here ever again. And I never slept upstairs ever again. But that wasn't the only experience that I had had. There was also a time around the same time period, same age about my aunt, in her bedroom, there was a door and stairs that would go to the attic. And the attic was where my cousin had like all of her toys. It's kind of like where her play area was.
Right.
And I remember we were having a family picnic. It was probably, I would say, summertime. And at one point while we were playing, she's like, I'll be right back. And she went down the stairs, and I didn't think much of it. I was probably up there. I can't even tell you how long I was probably up there by myself, but long enough where it kind of got weird. Like, I thought I heard something. I thought I heard my name. I thought maybe she was playing a joke on me. Kind of getting a little freaked out. I'm like getting angry with her, like, why are you doing this, basically? So I go down the stairs to get out of there because I'm like freaked out now. And the door is like stuck. So now I think that she's really screwing with me, and she's just being a jerk to me because, cousins. The door finally pops open, and I go running into the kitchen area, and I'm looking out the window to see if, where everybody is. She's outside. There's no way she got from that second story, area to outside without me hearing her run down the stairs, or even for her to get outside with the amount of time that it would have taken me to get from the bedroom to the kitchen. There's no way. There's no way. And I knew that even at that age, and it just didn't make sense in my head how she was already outside. And it wasn't like she was like running.
Right.
She obviously was like outside and just kind of doing other stuff. And I just booked it out of there. I was like, nope. I want nothing to do.
But again, you still didn't tell your family about that experience?
No.
Until when?
I was older. Probably late teens, early 20s is when I probably started to really get into this kind of stuff with my mom, especially, and explaining to her the things that I had gone through. And that's when it started to come out like, oh, by the way, like, this was a very, very haunted house, and everybody had something happen to them. My aunt and uncle that lived in the second, like the downstairs part, they would have things disappear. When nobody was living upstairs, my uncle would tell us that it would sound like parties going on up there. There was a time where he went upstairs thinking that it was people who maybe broke in and were partying or something, and he was bringing the dog upstairs with him. And they had gotten up to, I think he said, the attic area, and there was a part in the attic where like it was like almost like a partition, but you could see underneath it. And he said he could see feet, but they were see-through. And he and the dog booked it.
Yeah.
Like, and the dog, like at first, like wouldn't even go up. Like he was forcing the dog up the stairs. The dog didn't want to go upstairs. He was acting really weird and erratic. And he said it was just a very weird house. Very weird house. A lot of weird things that happened there.
So these experiences helped you kind of formulate your belief system in
It made
paranormal.
me question, is there something more? Is there something more that we don't completely understand about energy or about the, spirit or whatever you want to call it? I do think that science and religion are a lot more closely related than we truly understand. I think that we don't understand how the energy that we are created with, what happens to it when we die. Because as Einstein has always said, energy is neither created nor destroyed.
Right.
So where does it go? What happens to it?
So you believe it's tied into some spiritual, that they're basically one and the same.
Potentially. I don't have those answers, but I would like those answers. I just know that there's weird stuff that have happened and I don't have complete answers, but it has definitely opened my mind to the possibility.
Well, see, that's where I'm the opposite of it because I've never experienced anything like that in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a place of, comparison to say, oh, well, this happened to me. Why? Right. But I'm also a very science-based person.
Mm-hmm.
So I need explanation. I need something that, you can repeatedly test, right, to ensure that it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the ghost, the paranormal thing, it's kind of the same issue with Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
We now live in the age where we all have a high definition camera on us at all times. And yet we still haven't gotten better images and video of ghosts or Bigfoot or anything like that than we had beforehand. Mm-hmm. And you would think at this point, if the same amount of people are seeing ghosts and spirits and whatever else, you would think we would have a lot better video evidence than we actually do. So the fact that there's nothing, really tying it scientifically where we can say, oh, we can repeat this experiment and we get these results consistently. This is what it is. The fact that I've never experienced it, like put all these things together and I am just the biggest skeptic that there is. But I would love to experience, and I don't know what my response would be if and when that happened. Because I know, your first response is to be like, oh, I'm a tough guy. I'd go up to this, to the ghost. And when I can imagine your probably first reaction is to get the hell out of there.
I think it's more of, it's confusion. And like I said, like your brain is like, what is going on here? This doesn't make any sense. Do you know what I mean?
But at some point you recognized enough to say, this feels evil. This feels something not right.
So the feelings that I get, that's a difficult one. Because I don't know what that is. And I don't know why I get a feeling that's tied to these circumstances. I can tell you, however, the frustrating part about this, and this kind of ties into your whole, like, why don't we have more evidence? We have gone to so many places that are like supposedly super haunted, like the Eastern State Penitentiary.
Loved it.
Wanted to go there so bad because it is supposedly one of the most haunted places in Pennsylvania. And I'll go to these places and I feel and see nothing.
Right.
It's just an old abandoned prison. I don't have any feeling tied to it. I don't, like there's nothing that I'm getting. So these things that happen to me are so random. They, I don't have the ability to just call upon them or, it doesn't just happen, it just, is it going to happen or is it? And then 99% of the time it doesn't. So there's that,
Well, that's kind of like one of the other things that I think about. Is it more related to the person themselves? And is it me that I'm like, a blind spot to them or something, whereas you're radioactive. So they kind of find themselves attracted to you.
Potentially.
Whereas with me, they're like, whatever.
Or it could be a sensitivity thing that I'm just picking up on a frequency that maybe everybody else isn't able to pick up on. I don't know what it is. I don't have any of those answers for you. I just know what I've experienced.
Right.
So I have another story of my first husband's brother and sister, my sister-in-law. They owned a house and we were staying with them before we had gotten our first apartment. He was kind of finishing up school, so it just made sense. And every night that I would come home from work, I would have this I would have this image of a woman with dark hair and like a tracksuit, like the 80s, like late 80s, early 90s tracksuits, the swishy sound that they would make. I could hear
everybody wore them in the 80s.
Yeah. I could hear this like sound, the swish, 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 you know? And it finally got to a point, because usually I don't talk about these things with anyone, because like, I don't know how to explain this to people. I mean, I don't have any of the answers. I just know what I go through. So the one day I asked my sister-in-law, like, who died in this house? Who was the woman that died in this house? And like, she's like ghost white. And she's like, did Gordon tell you? No. Did Scott tell you? No. What are you talking about? She tells me how the previous owner had cancer. She had passed away in the house. I did not know any of this beforehand. It just was compelling. I had to ask. I had to know.
Right.
And this is what happens. Like, they just get these weird feelings. And
that's happened to you multiple times, right? Where
Yes.
you walked into a house and you like sensed that someone died in this room.
Yeah. My very first house that I owned.
Yeah.
We went to look at it, and as soon as we left, I said, somebody died in that living room. And of course, my first husband was like, you're crazy. No, that didn't happen. Whatever. And the day we move in, my next door neighbor comes over, introduces herself, and tells us how she used to take care of the previous owner in the living room. That's where he passed away while he was on hospice. And I just looked at my first husband and was like, told you.
Told you so.
I know it well enough to know that it's accurate,
Right.
whatever it is that I go through. I don't know why I go through it. I don't always go through it. Like I said, there's so many places that I've gone to where I want so badly to experience something, and it just doesn't happen. It's random, so I don't know how to talk about it usually.
Well, I've been to the Eastern State Penitentiary twice.
Yes.
Once with Skylar and then once with you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've never been, if you're ever in Philly, it's a great place to visit. It's the first penitentiary in the United States.
Yes.
And it housed Al Capone at one point.
Mm-hmm.
It is famous. It is notorious. It is infamous.
Right.
It's a great experience to go to, but that's what you always hear is, oh, it's one of the most haunted places. And historically, it was amazing.
Oh my God, I have so many amazing photos from that place.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Just to photograph the place was absolutely, I was,
But
in my element.
paranormal,
Nothing. Even with me.
Nothing.
I wanted so
Yeah,
badly.
yeah.
Just something,
They do overnight ghost tours, though, don't they? That you could stay overnight in there?
They do. But the one that I would really like to do
Yeah.
is Penhurst.
Penhurst, the insane asylum.
Yes.
I'm down.
So, and I get, so when I was younger, like, I always wanted to do these kinds of things, but I didn't want to do these kinds of things either, because I know, like, how freaked out I get about it. But the older that I get, the fear isn't there like it was when I was younger. So definitely would love to do that, to see if there's anything there, because I've heard things about that place too.
Yeah.
But like I said, every time that I go somewhere where I'm expecting it, because people are like, oh, this place is so haunted, I don't feel or see or anything, nothing.
Yeah, because I know you've turned on those like top 10 lists, top 10 most haunted places.
Yeah.
And those both have shown up on like numerous lists.
Yes. Yeah.
So I would definitely be down to do the Penhurst thing.
I think we should do that and then do an episode on it.
And then do an episode
Yeah,
on it.
and it'll be like our follow-up episode for this one. Like, did he or didn't he?
Stay tuned to see if I really do experience paranormal activity.
And if I survive it. And that's my other fear, that like we'll go somewhere. There's a place in Gettysburg that I've always wanted to stay at. That's supposed, it's the Farnsworth Inn.
Okay.
And it's supposedly really, really haunted. And I'm always, that thing that always trips me up is I have this feeling like we're going to go somewhere and I'm going to experience all this shit and you're not. And I'm just going to be terrorized the whole night and you're just going to be sleeping peacefully.
Like you wouldn't wake me up?
I probably would.
Okay. I would expect you to.
Yeah. You're just probably think I was crazy though.
I already think you're crazy. But I love you anyway, so it won't change anything. I really want to experience this. never happened. I'm hoping at some point. I'm down for all this stuff. I find the stories fascinating, first of all.
Yeah.
All of the paranormal stories, I get into the lore of those things.
Yeah.
And you and I, we watch a YouTube channel, Y-Files, right? Which is all sorts of weird, alien, supernatural, right? Religious, all those type of weird things. And I love that one the most because the host is AJ, his name is. And they do it beautifully because they set the scene and they give you the story. Now, usually when I hear the story about these things, my analytical brain is trying to pick out all the things that, right? Oh, well, this can be explained this way.
Absolutely.
Right? That can be that way.
Absolutely.
And with, so I'm not really engaged so much in the story. But with this show, I get engaged because I know that right afterwards, they're going to go into the potential debunking segment of it. So I'm going to get my answers. They've done the research. They're trying to debunk it. And so I can get myself into that lore, into that story. And it's awesome. It's fascinating. It's compelling. It drags you in. I love being able to do that. But then on the other side, I also want to analyze that and say, all right, how can this be explained away?
Yes.
What could this potentially be instead of an alien, instead of a ghost, instead of, whatever it is? How can it be scientifically explained?
Yes.
So I like that side of it. But the whole industry just fascinates me.
It fascinates everyone. I mean, that's why it makes so much money. That's why there's so many shows, there's so many accounts on social media that are about paranormal. People get obsessed about this kind of stuff. We all want answers. We all want to know, is there an afterlife? Is there a soul? Is there, are these things true? Or are we deluding ourselves? Is this mass hysteria? Is there something more tied to it?
But unfortunately, we live in a society where people are trying to capitalize on that, and there is a whole lot of fraud and forgery going around in that area.
Unfortunately, there really is. Yeah, and you can usually pick them out very well. Curious to see how that develops with AI, because that as AI is developing, people will start to use it for those kinds of things, and you won't be able to tell. Which is unfortunate because, for all the fraud that is out there, there are a lot of things that don't always make sense.
They can't be answered, right? There's some of them you look at, you watch the video, and you're like, okay, this is clearly a fake. I can even tell you how I would go do that.
Right.
But then there's some where you look at and you go, well, that's a pretty good forgery.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure it's fake.
Yeah.
I believe it to be because I don't have the answer telling me it's not. But it's actually kind of compelling. But I need to experience it for myself. I need to have that feeling to go through that, to see something in front of me.
Oh, I wish everybody could, honestly. I wish everybody could, because I think then it would potentially be something that we would look into a lot more. Do you know what I mean? We would study a lot more. Maybe we'd have more answers by now. But I think because the things that we use to measure these things, there's a lot of tools that we try to use to measure or prove that, and a lot of them I question myself. Like an EMF detector, if you're in a house with electricity and you're near something that is electrical, you're going to get high EMF readings. So there's that aspect of it.
Was that a band in the 90s?
What?
EMF.
Was it banned?
You're unbelievable. Oh,
yes. Yes, it was.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
It's the ADHD kicking in.
That was a good one.
I know that band,
Yeah. But yeah, so it would, I question a lot of the tools that are used because I just feel like they're not actually capturing what it is we think that it is capturing.
It's almost like they took things from other areas that just happened to catch some
something
random, whatever, static, whatever it can be, and translates that into other things. And they're like, okay, this is detecting ghosts.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, what's the rationale behind that?
Right.
Give me the science behind why you think so.
Right.
I mean, I've seen Ghostbusters. All right. And Egon has a scientific explanation behind every tool that he uses. So
yes,
you give me an Egon, I might become a believer.
Yeah. So we'll revisit this, right?
Yeah.
We will revisit this and give updates on our travels. Maybe we'll throw some pictures in of places that we've been to on some of our very famous ghost tours.
And if anybody out there has any suggestions on places that we can go, I'd be all for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tell us your stories. Tell us, we would love to hear them. Maybe it would be really awesome if we got enough of them. We could do an episode on like our followers' stories.
We could do that too.
Yeah.
Pennhurst is one that I would love to go to.
Yeah.
There's also one in West Virginia, I believe.
Oh,
Another
the Waverly.
Waverly?
The Waverly Sanitarium, yeah. That is probably the most haunted sanatorium. Whatever.
I don't know. I was thinking about Wizards of Waverly Place when you
That's
said
funny.
that.
ADHD.
ADHD. You said Waverly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's another place I would like to go. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm open for some suggestions on places.
Yeah.
Whether they're, on places that we go to vacation, whether there's something there or even just going somewhere specifically for the purpose of that. I'm down for it.
Cool.
I want to I want to believe.
I want you to experience something. Yeah. Then I could be like, told you so.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for joining us again. And remember to like, comment, subscribe. And you can find us on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, YouTube, and Podbean. And until next time,